On the outskirts of the small New England town of Windermere stood Blackwood Manor, a decaying estate long abandoned after the tragic events that had unfolded there a century ago. The manor was a grand structure in its prime, boasting high spires, arched windows, and a sprawling garden, but now it was little more than a skeleton of its former self, its walls weathered and its grounds overrun with weeds. The story of Blackwood Manor was one of sorrow and horror, woven into the fabric of Windermere's local lore. It was said that in the early 1900s, the manor was home to the Blackwood family, wealthy and respected. However, their lives took a dark turn when their daughter, Eliza, mysteriously vanished. Despite a frantic search, Eliza was never found, and her disappearance was soon followed by the family's decline into madness. In a twisted climax, the entire family was discovered dead in the manor, their bodies in grotesque positions as though frozen in a final anguished tableau. Rumors swirled of curses and dark rituals, but no one could ever confirm the truth behind their demise. Years turned into decades, and Blackwood Manor fell into ruin. The townspeople avoided it, leaving it to be slowly consumed by the creeping forest. It was said that the anguished wails of Eliza could still be heard on moonless nights, carried on the wind that rustled through the rotting trees. One autumn, a group of college friends decided to visit the manor, drawn by the thrill of adventure and the lure of its dark history. Among them was Jessica, an aspiring journalist eager for a story that would cement her name in the annals of local legends. She convinced her friends, Mark, Sarah, and Tom, to accompany her on a night exploration of the manor. As dusk fell, the group made their way through the overgrown garden and past the iron gates, which creaked ominously as they pushed them open. The manor loomed ahead, its dark silhouette jagged against the encroaching night. With flashlights in hand and nerves on edge, they stepped inside. The interior was a labyrinth of dust-covered furniture and cobwebbed corners. The air was thick with a musty odor, and every step they took seemed to echo through the empty halls. They began their exploration on the ground floor, where they found old portraits of the Blackwood family, their eyes appearing to follow the group with an unsettling intensity. Jessica was particularly fascinated by a large portrait of Eliza, who seemed to stare out of the frame with an expression of both sadness and anger. As they continued, they found themselves in a grand ballroom where the chandelier hung precariously, its crystals swaying slightly as though disturbed by an unseen force. The group grew increasingly uneasy, but Jessica pressed on, convinced that the manor held a crucial piece of the story she sought. Their exploration led them to a hidden staircase behind a bookcase. The steps were narrow and steep, and as they ascended, the air grew colder. At the top, they found a small, dimly lit room. In the center of the room stood a heavy, ornate chest. Jessica's curiosity got the better of her, and she opened it, revealing a collection of old, tattered books and a weathered journal. The journal, when opened, revealed a series of frantic, scrawled entries. The writings detailed the mental deterioration of the Blackwood family and hinted at dark rituals performed in a desperate bid to communicate with the missing Eliza. As Jessica read aloud, the temperature in the room dropped further, and a chilling breeze seemed to sweep through. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from below, and the friends froze. Tom suggested they investigate, but Jessica insisted on staying behind to read more. Reluctantly, her friends left, leaving her alone in the eerie silence. As Jessica continued reading, she became aware of a faint sound, a soft, mournful cry that seemed to come from within the walls. Her heart raced, but she remained focused on the journal. The cries grew louder, and a shadow passed over her. She looked up to see a figure standing in the doorway, a gaunt woman in tattered clothing, her eyes hollow and her expression one of profound sorrow. Jessica's breath caught in her throat as she recognized the figure as the woman from the portrait, Eliza Blackwood. The wraith's gaze locked with hers, and the room grew colder still. Eliza's mouth opened, emitting a mournful wail that seemed to pierce through Jessica's very soul. In a state of terror, Jessica stumbled back, knocking over the chest. The room began to spin, and the walls seemed to close in. Eliza's wail intensified, becoming a cacophony of anguish. Jessica scrambled to her feet and fled down the stairs, her friends' shouts guiding her through the chaos. Outside, the friends reunited, their faces pale with fear. They left the manor as quickly as possible, the sound of Eliza's cries echoing behind them. Eliza was never found after they left the manor,